Hey there, welcome to Contracts and Chaos. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Brenna, and we're here to tell you that you are not alone in the mayhem of this real estate industry.
We're keeping it real and sharing our stories, strategies, and successes in today's real estate world.
So come join us every Tuesday while we talk contracts and chaos.
Stop talking because we do this every time. And then we're like, wait, what did we say 20 minutes ago when we were just
Right.
gossiping?
Right. Well, I mean, because what you just said is a good one-liner that I think you should throw in here. Okay, so we are on the final week of our lead gen series, and we are talking FSBOs. If you don't know what FSBO is, if FSBO, for sale by owner, and if you don't know what that is, I I don't know how to help you. I think.
I mean, if you're a baby agent, maybe you don't know the acronyms, or I know mom's listening and she knows just from like talking to me that FSBO is short for sale by owner, but I don't know if the general public would know. Like,
Maybe.
obviously, they've seen the signs, but the signs don't say FSBO.
Right, they say
So,
for sale by owner.
yeah, but if you've been in this industry more than like
2
6 months,
minutes.
you've definitely right? You've definitely heard the term. Definitely.
It is one of those things that I think is like coming back more. There was a hot second there that there wasn't a lot of for sale by owners on the market because people, I don't know, it's one of those things. But that being said, for sale by owner is how I built my business. I came to North Carolina. Everybody, I think we've shared our stories several
Yeah.
times. And I was a transplant here, right? So no sphere of influence to really work, if that makes sense. So I was like, where do I find business? You don't just like call people and ask if they need to buy a house. But what I did was I wound up on Zillow and Facebook Marketplace for the people who had raised their hand and said, I'm selling a house, right? And I'm
Right.
trying to do it all by myself. And that's where I was like, hey, I can help you, right? And God love me, I'd never sold a house before a day in my life. I was
But
in the
you know
same
what?
boat
Neither did
that they
I, and I
were.
did it. And now you've sold over 100. So,
Yes, it's so funny because thinking back, so my very first listing, right? Because I had that one-off buyer that was like an internet lead. I think I've shared this story. We had one showing, they bought it in cash, like for half the list price for this little trailer because the seller was there in his underwear and he was like,
mhm.
I would take this, but the agent told me to list for this. So, anyways, that was my first sale. But after that, it was just listings because of for sale by owners. So it's funny because thinking back, I was in the same boat that they were, right? Like I'm talking about like, well, have you ever sold a home for sale by owner? Have you done this before? Right. And they're like, well, no. And in my head, I should have been like, well, gee,
Me
neither
neither.
neither have I, but I do have a license number. So that has to that has to mean something, right?
Right. I at least know which documents you're going to need. You have no idea.
Oh my God. So I think the biggest thing with for sale by owners, and this is what we were just talking about because Alyssa's like, nah, like I think for sale by owners, and I'm like, I would much rather call a for sale by owner than talk to an expired. And Alyssa is exactly the opposite,
Yep.
right? And it's so funny because I was just saying the process I feel like is very similar, but the messaging is different. But the process, and here's where I differ from a lot of agents, right? Because I started in KW, right? And I loved their training. They did a lot of, they still do a lot of like the hardcore basics, right? The door
Right. They
knocking,
do.
the cold calling, the repet, like that kind of thing. But the scripting that I was coached with was like, if you don't get the appointment on that call, you, I don't want to say
You
failed the
lost. You're
call, but
done.
you did. You
Right.
lost, right? The
Mission aborted, like, and walk away, move to the next one.
Mhm. And I think that that's where a lot of people miss because here's the thing: people list their house for sale by owner, and what happens if they're on Zillow and they've posted their phone number, if they're on Facebook Marketplace and they've listed their phone number, or even if they haven't, their messages are exploding, their phone's exploding, anything. So the moment you say, "Hey, Mr. Seller, My name's Brenna. I work with Keller Williams, right? Because that's who I was with at the time. And everybody knows that Keller Williams is a real estate agent firm. How many times did I get hung up on? I got hung up on a lot.
So what you can't see, guys,
Is when
is that
I just asked that question. How many times do you think I got hung up on? And what did Alyssa do?
I hung up on accident.
She left the chat.
I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, it was like, boom, and I went. I was like, I didn't touch anything, and there's no one at like, there's no fur babies on the keyboard. I don't know what happened.
So that is what happened. Yeah, a lot of people just didn't even say hello. You know? But here's the thing. So, my approach to real estate is very different than a lot of agents in that time. I feel like a lot of people have changed their messaging, which I think is a good thing
Mm,
because we've gone from this, well, I say we. There's still a lot of people that do the cold call. But the problem is the people that call and never call back are the ones that they don't get that listing, right? So, my timeline, like, and this was, mind you, this is back in 2019, the beginning of 2020, when I'm first starting this, right? Like, I tracked this. I had to talk to that seller between 7 and 9 times before I got an appointment. Not before I listed the
right. Well,
house, before I got an
isn't
appointment.
the average like eight? They say like 18. It can take 18 touches or something like that if you're doing between calling and like mailers and stuff. I feel like I've heard that
Yep, and it's
somewhere.
gone up so much. It was like you had to be in front of somebody like 7 to 10 times, right? But because of social media, because everybody's seeing repetitive, the same thing, those retargeting ads, they're seeing it, they're seeing it, they're seeing it, and their brain's like, oh my God, all right. Like we just keep scrolling, right? Now it's like 20 something times before somebody like recognizes you, recognizes your brand, recognizes what you're saying to them, right? Because we are in an overstimulated environment all of the time. It's not back in the 1970s where you get one postcard mailer from somebody asking to sell your house and you're like, wow, look at this marketing rock star, right? They sent me a
Right.
postcard. It is a lot more, it's a lot more work now. So I I sounded very different than the agents on the phone and I had a different accent, right? A lot of the times I had to slow myself down because I talk a lot faster than
That is a huge
the
one for
people
me. Slow
people in the
down.
South. But the biggest thing was is if and I didn't hide that I was an agent, right? I would just start differently. Hey, I was calling about 123 Main Street. Do you have a minute for a couple of questions? Right? When they said yes, I would say, great. I'm with I'm Brenna Stebbins with now I'm with Real Broker, right? And I was looking at your listing and ask a question. That was my biggest thing, right? Because otherwise, you lose them. You lose them right off the bat. It's okay. I told you, listen, I have Alyssa asked me to do this and I'm like, "Oh my god, do I have a process?" Right? Like I don't really have a process for this. I have
You do, but I feel like it's all in your
oh for
brain.
sure because it's
Like, you know what you do, but like documenting that and trying to speak to it to other people is not always the
mhm,
easiest.
mhm. The biggest thing is you want to be a resource, not a salesman, right? And that sounds so
Yes.
backwards because you're literally trying to sell yourself and your services to these people, right?
Right. I had that conversation with an agent yesterday, though. They're newer to the business and they're in referral status right now because they're working a full-time job. And they just kept posting like, people from the Northeast moving here, call me, like things like that. And I was like, stop doing like it's not a stop, but don't it shouldn't be every day. It should be the only thing you're doing. Like you need to create you have to show that you know what's going on here. So he's trying to attract, he's from New York City. I said, go to Freedom Park in Charlotte, walk around, film some B roll, put some text over the screen that says, when I miss Central Park in New York, I come to Freedom Park. And that will and or like, "Hey, when I really want an egg and cheese or sauce or bacon, egg, and cheese, this is where the best one is." Like, you have to show that you know what's going on, that you're
Mhm.
relatable, but not come off as, "Hey, wanna move and buy a house here?"
Correct.
Like, it's the same thing with your FSBOs. You have to show that you're knowledgeable, maybe not about Central Park or, like, what relates, but same idea. You have to show that you're knowledgeable about what they've been trying to
Mhm.
do and how you can help them do it
No,
better.
exactly. It's helpful. You need to be consistent. Be normal, right? Like you don't need to sound
Right.
like a stiff cardboard box. Like nobody wants to, especially if you call and you get like a mom that sounds like she's trying to get 6 kids out the door right now. Like maybe now is not the time to ask for an appointment
Exactly.
at 1 o'clock, right? Like that's the biggest thing. And it's a long game. Again, there are agents that run a wonderful business by nailing the appointment on the first call, right? I have there
Mhm.
has been like 3 appointments that I've ever had that they were like, "Yeah, you can come over today. You want to come over today and look, right?" And I've only gotten 2 of those listings. Most of the time, it has been a follow up. And that's why most agents don't like for sale by owner. They are harder. And this is what Alyssa said when we were chatting off screen is that expireds have already raised their hand and asked for help, right? Like they've already listed. And for sale by owners are like, yeah, I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to do it all by myself. I don't need you,
Right.
right? And we look at those two things very differently because I look at expireds and like they already had a crappy transaction. They're already upset about whatever happened. Like I don't want to handle that. For sale by owners are just cocky. Maybe
That's one I
maybe
think, and I think that's or stubborn, like, and maybe that's why I'm avoidant to
Mhm,
them, because I'm kind of the same way about certain things. I'm like, "I don't need you to do this for
mhm,
me. I can do it." Now, can I do it as well as a professional?
correct.
No, but I just feel like there's already that attitude barrier that I'm like, "I don't wanna deal with your bullshit today. I'm sorry." Like, I have enough other stressors. I don't need to deal with you being a dick on the
They don't
phone.
know what they don't know, and I've sent Alyssa screenshots, and you probably remember the specific one where I asked a question, right? Because there are times that I call for sale by
Oh,
owners, and
I
there's ones like on Facebook Marketplace when there is no phone number, and I'll message them, right? And I asked a question, and he said, "Read the ad," and I said, "I did." It doesn't answer that question in the ad. And all of a sudden, because in Facebook, whenever it changes the description or they add photos, like you get a notification if you've reached out on that listing. So all of a sudden, I get like 3 little ding, 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 like, and his name wasn't Jason, but Jason changed the description. Jason added photos. Jason, and I'm like, oh, I see that now. Thank you for adding that information into your list. Oh my god, hilarious. But follow up is the biggest thing. Every touch, you need to bring something useful. You need to be a resource. You need to remind them why you are the professional, right? Just calling week after week after week, asking to see the house, asking to make an appointment, saying that maybe you have a buyer. I hate that. I hate that. I might have a buyer that's interested in your property. Do you or don't you? Right? I feel like that's
right.
misleading.
And don't lie about it
Mm-mm.
if you
If
don't.
you do, great.
Don't
I
lie
have
about it.
sold for sale by owner houses to my buyer clients for sure. But don't make it up because then immediately they don't trust you, right? If you go in, you're like, oh, yeah, no, I love your house. Actually, my clients aren't going to like this. But if you're interested in listing, I would love to help you. They immediately smell fish, right? That's fishy. Fishy, fishy, fishy. um, and I have a list of things like my process of like what I try to touch base with that I'll get in a minute. But basically, it's and we've talked about this before. Don't reach out and be like, "Hey, just checking in. How's the listing going?" Right? Come with some value, something like that. Something that for sale by owners don't realize that they need most of the time is disclosures. Right? Disclosures in North Carolina are required, whether you sell for sale by owner or not. And they have no idea. You're like, oh, do you have the property disclosures available? My what? Right? I
Mhm.
listed on Zillow that, we upgraded the kitchen back in 2003 because that's what they think is important and it's not. Also pricing, right? We're like, oh, a great question to ask if for sale by owner is do you mind if I ask how you got to the list price, right? Not
I looked at the Zillow
9
estimate.
times out of 10, it is a Zestimate, right? That, oh, that's the Zestimate. We listed it at this estimate. And as a real estate agent, you know that that could be right, or it could be wildly wrong one way or the other. Talk about showing feedback. Ask how their showings have gone. Ask what they're hearing from those people coming through their house, right? Does it smell like dog? Does it need updating? Is it too dark? Does it need more natural light? Like those kinds of things. Ask about their pictures, right? That's one of the first things I'm like, wow, like if it was my listing, I would remove the picture of your son's bedroom that looks like you have a 23-year-old still living there with the bag of Doritos on his nightstand and 3 pairs of dirty socks, right? Like I would take that out of your listing. And
Or I would like I think my other tip would be like, here's a really great real estate photographer. Call him.
because that's a resource, right? Like, hey, I saw your pictures.
Mhm.
I'm assuming you took them yourself, right? And while that may work for some, people are so used to seeing HGTV quality and Pinterest quality.
Yes. Buyers want the HGTV.
Again, we live in a world where you can scroll on Instagram, and whether or not the screen behind that influencer is a disaster, all you see is the curated, beautiful, homey white living room with soft candles flickering, and that's
And
what you envision. Like that's what you want because that's what you see.
right. Or like I always equate it when I'm talking to people about stuff like this and not necessarily FSBOs because I don't pursue them, but like sellers in general. When I love picking out restaurants, right? Like my family knows that when we're traveling, even if Alyssa's not with us, have her look up where we're going to eat this week. Um, but it's because my mom looks at the menu and then we get there and I'm like, no offense, mom, but I'm like, mm, okay. I look at the
Yes.
pictures. People look at pictures. They were visually
Uh-huh.
stimulated. They want to see the prettiness. They want to see, is your marinara chunky? Does it, like, what are you doing with it? Like, if I see an Alfredo that's just plain white and there's no peppers or herbs, I'm questioning
Right.
it. So, like, it's the same thing with house photos. Like,
Uh-huh.
you've got to showcase it well because people are very visually
Mhm.
stimulated, and you get one shot.
Yes.
You get one shot because if you change photos, like once it goes in MLS, if we get the listing, it doesn't trigger because you put new photos in.
Nope.
So you get one shot, and people will look at those and go, no. And then they'll remember the address when it comes back up and go,
I didn't like
yeah, but what was it that we didn't like about
Yep.
that? So yeah, I agree. You have to get at a minimum, get the 23-year-old's Doritos out of the way.
And if you're a real estate agent still using like terrible, like iPhone 2 photographs, please call me. Please call me. I'll help.
Or
I'll set you up with
like,
somebody.
yeah, at a minimum, go buy like a cheap DSLR at Best
Mhm,
Buy. If you really, or if you're in an area where there really aren't photographers, okay, I get it. Like maybe rural
mhm.
somewhere, or you're just starting and you don't have the money, then call your friend who does family photos and beg for a favor because they at least have a better
I'm
camera.
not pitching this, okay? But I use this sometimes. Snap, snap, snap. Have you heard of it?
No, I thought you were going to say Snapchat, and I was like,
No.
no.
Alyssa's like, we are not putting bunny faces on our listing photos.
I
Snap,
mean,
Snap, Snap is an app through Box Brownie. Box Brownie does like
mm,
digital renderings. They'll stage like digitally stage and things like
mhm.
that. The app has you take photos through the app. It does the long exposure. It does the dark all the way up to the really, really bright exposure. You have to have a tripod or have very, very, very steady hands, or the picture will be blurry, right? Because it is a long exposure. And then they take all 8 of those frames and compress it into that high quality digital image. I'll
Huh,
do this like if I, and I haven't had a coming soon listing in a while because we've just been going active. But if I had a coming
right.
soon listing and my photographer wasn't able to do, like if they were still prepping on the inside, I would do
Right.
exterior with that app because then it comes back edited, it looks great, right? And
Right.
I think per photo, it's like $3 per photo.
Oh, that's not bad.
No.
Yeah, especially for, like, a coming soon to at least get some, like, outdoor, kitchen, and the cool bathroom teaser.
Mhm.
But be careful, some states are not allowing overly edited or virtually altered
Well, honestly,
photos.
they should make that across the board because I showed a house this past week that I like the house looked great online. I was like, it's, a smaller house, an older house, but like it looked good. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and we got there and I was like, "Oh my god, is that a hole in the drywall?" Right? Like they genuinely filled like a elbow sized hole in the I pulled the listing back up and I'm like, see, that's to me, that's misleading. You know what I mean? Because these buyers are like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And we walk in and I'm like, oh God.
Yep. No, California. So my dad is studying real estate photography for various reasons, and yes, photography is his hobby anyway, so he's pivoting. But so he's paying attention to all the things
Hmm.
now. And California, supposedly, according to him, just passed a law. You cannot alter them. Like in I don't think you can alter at all. I'd have to look into it, but yeah, some states are crack and I agree because like you said, holes in the I showed a house the other day. Now, I had this conversation with an agent yesterday. You and I can typically look at listing photos as long as they haven't been heavily altered and say, "Ooh, that's gonna be lipstick on a pig," or even though it looks pretty, I know it's gonna smell bad.
Hmm.
Like we've done this long enough. But our clients can't. And that's where I'm okay with that because yeah, like save my clients the time of getting out there because we did it this week. Like it looked great. And I was looking at it going, I don't, this is going to go either way. I'm not
Uh-huh.
sure. Sure enough, it was lipstick. I mean, it was awful, awful. But anyway, yes, like back to the
Yeah.
FSBOs. Sorry, guys, we
We
got
got
on a
on a tangent.
tangent.
It's okay. Say sometimes FSBOs will use their old listing photos, like from it'll say like MLS 2003 on it. Like I know your house looks different than that. I just
I saw one of those a couple weeks ago. Yeah, and then when I called her for my clients, she said, "Oh, I'm working with an agent."
oh,
I was like,
nice.
"What?" She wasn't. She had one in mind who she had told if like, "We're gonna put this up as a FSBO, but if anyone calls, I'm gonna have them call you."
Interesting.
And I was just like and it was the old listing photos from 10 years ago.
Interesting.
And I was just like, "So we have no idea what this house actually looks like."
Interesting. So basically, my framework is literally listen. Right. First, ask a question. Listen, because once you get them talking, most of the time they just continue talking. Right, and that's the greatest thing. Offer one helpful thing. Repeat. Repeat weekly. If unless they are like they seem like they are just like ready to rock and roll, then twice weekly. Oh, my phone wasn't silent after all. Um,
That's okay.
Basically, along with just like our talk about social media and anything like that, consistency beats intensity every single time, in my opinion, right? So here's what I have: a 6 week like touch point that I use, right? If by 6 weeks I'm not getting like any kind of, I don't want to say reaction, but like if I'm not like pretty much got a foot in the door and going to go see this house in 6 weeks, I'll take a break from it for a second, right? Because again, it's time, it's effort, and sometimes people just don't churn. They don't, and that's the biggest thing. You could be following up with, let's say, 10 FSBOs, right? You might only get one of those listings. So just beware with that. Okay, first week is I have it listed. It says initial connection on here. Whether this is a phone call or a message on Facebook, it's basically saying, "Hey, hi, how are you?" On Facebook, I ask if they're open to working with a real estate agent if it's very obvious that they're not listed. You know what I mean? If I'm not sure, if it's like a homeowner that has a listing with somebody and has just posted it on Facebook Marketplace because they feel like their agent isn't doing enough, I'll ask for the MLS number, right? Because when they're like, "What's an MLS number?" Right? You know immediately that that is a for sale by owner. Phone calls are I honestly I don't do a lot of phone calls recently. Like I don't have the time because phone calls cold calling takes a lot longer, right? You're dialing,
Yes.
you have to take notes, you have to make sure that you have the right like phone number. So if they call back, you know what house they're talking about, right? So it's a longer process than Facebook Marketplace. So if they respond to your message, you obviously know which house you were looking at, you know? Um, Before I call or before I message, because I'll message that generic message, but I'll have a question ready. So you go through their photos, you go through their listing information and find one thing that isn't in there, right? A lot of times it's square footage. A lot of times it's a lot size, something that is an important for a buyer to know. That would be important, right? You could have a beautiful 3 bedroom, 2 bath with a bonus room and it still only be 1,600 square feet, right?
Right.
If you don't tell me how big it is, maybe it won't work for my client. So something very simple, very, very easy, not hard for them to like think about. I'm not asking if they were what their interest rate is or if they know what their payoff amount is or anything like that. It's just a very easy generic question to start the conversation. After that, I usually week one is usually when I start talking about disclosures, right? Because that gives me an in a couple of weeks later, asking them if they want like a copy, if they want to see what a disclosure looks like, that kind of thing. And basically, I'm just like, hey, so see, you're selling your home for sale by owner. How are showings going for you? That kind of thing. Asking how they're handling showings because sometimes, again, this varies so much depending on what the house looks like, right? If it's obviously lived in, are you offering showings before or after work? That kind of thing. Is it vacant? Do you have a lockbox on the property? If I was able to go preview it, because I will preview a vacant for sale by owner for sure, because then I can give real time feedback. You know what I mean? The next week, I'll follow up and ask a more data driven question. So, what I like to do is reach out on a Monday or a Tuesday. Mondays, usually people don't respond. A lot of stuff is happening on a Monday. So, Tuesday is actually my better day to reach out to people. Tuesday through Thursday is when you'll get the most response from people. Mondays are busy, Fridays, people aren't thinking about selling their house, right? So, Tuesday, I'll be like, hey, how was your weekend with showings? And then this is where you pull showing time in because I can search Hickory, for example, right? Hickory properties, 300 to 350, there were 23 showings this past weekend for properties in that range that were listed on the MLS. How was your showing activity, right?
And they go,
I
"What?
didn't have any showings.
No one
No
came."
one came. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, this property is 2 miles from you. It's been on the market for 23 days. Not many of them are on the market for 5 days anymore and under contract. There are a couple, but this one's been on the market for 26 days. It went under contract this weekend. It looks like and I'll just have a conversation. Like, I'm like, oh, wow, look at how cool this is. And like, I can send you this report if you'd like. And a lot of them do want to see it because they think I'm making it up.
Right.
That's why I like showing time
Yeah.
because I can let you just like download to PDF and you can text it. You can anything because a lot of people for me will say, "Yeah, I'd like to see that." Because I genuinely do think that they think that I'm just blowing smoke.
Right. Well, and I think if they are truly level-headed sellers, if you can provide the data and they are willing to listen to it,
Mhm.
that's gonna like, that shows not only that you know what's going on, but that you are a trusted
Mhm.
resource, that you have information they don't have in order to sell their
Well,
house.
and that's the biggest thing is again just building that relationship out and making it seem like a friend reaching out that they can talk to, right? And that way I'm like, "Hey, this information like however you need to use this to help your listing." So say that they're listed at, 356, right? These showings are happening at 350. I can show you this, right? The ones that are listed at 350 have 60% more showings than the ones on either side of it. That's the sweet spot right now. That's where our buyers are pre-approved, or that's where our buyers are looking. So use that information how you will, right? And if you need anything, give me a call. I'll talk to you next week kind of situation. And then the next one is and this is where I'll bring in the photographer. This is where I'll offer a connection for a pre-listing inspection, right? Because I'll kind of circle back to the disclosures and ask if if they had a home inspection done when they purchased the property, right? And I'll ask this regardless of if they bought the house 2 years ago or 100 years ago, right? When's the last time you had a home inspection done? Do you know what the underside of your house looks like? Right? Because that is a great conversation to have with people as far as like due diligence is the hardest part of the listing process, right? Because for a lot of sellers, they have no idea. I would say a good 85% of sellers have no idea what's going to show up on a home inspection report. Wouldn't you agree?
Mhm.
Like,
Oh, yeah. I mean, even in brand new construction, I've had shit pop up.
for sure.
And, like, so yeah,
For sure. Of
absolutely.
course, there's people that maintain and take care of their home, but they still don't realize that there is a slow drip under the kitchen faucet into the crawl space that's causing moisture along the girder, right? How many people spend that much time in their crawl space? Not me. Or their attic,
Mm.
or they just don't pay attention, or they don't take care of things. And then there's, light bulbs that are missing, and it could be a fixture, and it could just be that you need a new light bulb. And you know how I feel about light bulbs, but it's one of those things.
I should have put light bulbs in that bag.
You really
I should have put light bulbs in that bag.
here's when you're feeling gloomy. Here's the light bulb for you.
But it feels like all the lights have gone out in your room.
You can make it easy on yourself. Try to have a go-to conversation about a lender or a vendor, right? So
Mhm.
for me, it's a pre-listing home inspection, because I feel like that helps me as a listing agent. It helps them as a seller. It helps the buyer. Like, it just speeds the process up. And it's a good conversation to have, because again, then they're like, "Oh, well, no, we actually just had the HVAC service this spring." Like, and continue taking notes. The biggest thing that you can mess up on is if you call and like basically ask the same question twice, right? Like, if they already answered you about something and you ask again, they're just like, it's like, you know, repetitive.
It's like going on a second date and they don't remember what you talked about the first time, or even I remember going on a first date a couple years ago, and he's like, "Oh, I booked a French restaurant. I know you like French food." And I was like,
I don't like French food.
"I mean, I do, but we've never discussed that, so I don't know
I don't know
why."
which date you're talking about,
Like,
but it certainly wasn't
yeah.
me.
I mean, and it's cool you're going with other dates, but, like, maybe keep us straight. Like,
At least take notes. You know what I mean? And this is better for
yeah.
you too, because then if you're like, "Hey, if you ask about a preview, or coming to the house and like, actually, we have a soccer game Thursday, that's not going to work. Like, check in with us next week. Next week, guess what? I'm asking about that soccer game."
Mhm.
Because they appreciate that,
Yep.
because it's personal, because it's not me just trying to get into their house to sell their house. It's me being a human, and that's what they like. When you start acting like a robot, I feel like you lose people every time. But you could use any vendor you want to. A handyman, right? Like, you see in your pictures that it looks like they need a painter, or offer a cleaning service connection. Maybe don't do that. I don't know about cleaning service connection. That might hurt feelings. I've never done that. I have a wonderful cleaning service that I offer for my listings, but maybe don't. Hey, do you need a cleaner?
Right, especially if you haven't seen it,
Can you
like,
imagine?
or but yeah, I mean, painters, handyman,
Mhm,
like, if there's especially, like, if it's like, "Oh, we've got some feedback," or the inspection said, like, the porch railing's loose, or we need a couple boards replaced, but they're not able to do that,
mhm.
send them your handyman and be like, "Here's his
Well, and that's
information."
good. So week 2, when I'm asking about how their showings go, right? If they had showings and like, "Oh, well, they just felt like, the price was too high." A lot of times, like recently when I've been reaching out to for sale by owners, they have people come out and look at this house, and then they're trying to see if they can get financed, right? Oh, so you just wasted 4 hours of your Saturday showing this property to buyers that don't qualify to buy your home. They have no idea if they can buy your home.
Mhm.
That
right?
sucks, right? But also, if they were like, they didn't like the back porch is falling apart, right? Then that leads you into that vendor connection. This can all be
Right.
very per basis, like as
Mhm.
needed, depending on the
Right. Or
situation.
we've been told there's too much stuff in the house, but like we're not ready to like we don't I don't know, like do you have an auctioneer or here's storage or can I drop off some boxes or something like that? Like,
I love
you
that. Oh
know,
my god, I do that. So, BizBox.
are you muted?
No, I shouldn't be. Can you hear me? Technical
There
difficulties.
you go. It switched to my computer for some reason. I didn't touch anything.
I use BizBox. I use them for my listings and for my buyers. I order them. But sometimes
Yep, me
if
too.
one of the conversations that we have is they're just trying to clean out and blah 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 blah. I have their address. I have their like the listing address, right? I'll send them one of those packages. It costs me $50. But guess what? When they get a whether or not they use me or not, those are my boxes with my logo and my information drifting out
Yep.
into the world. You know, we love
Yep. I had a seller who like we canceled a listing once and I had given her a box. She's like, "Here, take these back." I said, "No, it's okay.
that. Mhm.
Keep them." And then I mean, she listed with another agent down the road, but I was like, people are going to see these and it's not free marketing, but it's marketing you're not having to think about later because someone's going to be like, "Where'd you get that box?" or "Who was that?" Even if they don't, they'll be like, "Oh, we were successful selling at FSBO because someone called the next day with an offer, but this agent was the agent we were going to list
Mhm.
with if this hadn't worked out for us."
Yep. Yep. Um, the next thing is so I have a for sale by owner guide. I got it from Coffee and Contracts. They have a for sale by owner guide. So I just edited that and I use that. It has some very basic information, right? Like very, very well. I think it's basic, but maybe to a for sale by owner who has genuinely no idea how the process works, that it is helpful, right? There's helpful information in there, but also this between the week before, so week 3, week 4, depending on how the first conversation goes, I am like, I would love to run a home equity report on this property, right? Sometimes I say this on week 1. Again, this depends on how the first phone call goes. The first phone call, if they're like super talkative and they're like very receptive to what I have to say, I will offer a home equity report then. And what I do is I use High Note. We've talked about High Note before. Everything, I have a template basically in there that has why work with me. It has all this information in there. And High Note is an analytics platform, right? So if I send them a link, I'll ask them for their email to send it. If they don't want to give me their email, I can just send a link and then ask their password, like set the password as their email, right? Require their email to view is all I do there. And then I tell them that they're due to the nature of the information that their password is their email address, right? Super easy. So when they go in there and if they're looking at why work with me, my reviews, that kind of thing, because I get notifications on what they're looking at, I'm like, oh, okay, they're interested, right? They're interested in what I have to say. I use an RPR, quick CMA, right? I haven't seen the property, so I'm not giving them prices. I black all of that out. But here are the comps that I'm seeing around you. So they can look at that as well. So again, depending on where the conversations go, that can happen anywhere from the first interaction to right around here, that third or fourth time that I'm having a conversation with them. And that kind of leads into week 5 again. This is when you reach, well, it's been like 30 more days. Have you had any more interest on the property? Have you considered dropping the price? Like, I'd love to come take a look at it. And then like that last one is like really trying to nail the appointment, right? Like, let me come see your house. And when I go see their house, I have her box. They have all the information that has been in that High Note from whenever I sent it. But now I'm coming with a tangible box that has the same stuff. Why work with me? My reviews in there, my seller guide, all of those things in this box. And I try the first time if I'm in their house to not be there more than 20 minutes, right? I'm not one to go with paperwork and be like, "Are you ready to make the decision right now?" Right?
Right. Or if I have paperwork with me, it's because I bring it for them to review. "Hey, here's a copy so that if you decide to do this, you can see what we're going to walk
Mhm.
through." And maybe so if they're like, "Yeah, we are," like, they surprise me and like, "Yeah, we're ready to sign," I can be like, "Okay, let's I have a copy for me as well. We can walk through it so I can put notes, but then I'm sending this to you digitally, like, so it's nice and clean and
Mhm.
crisp." But I would never force, even with expireds or even traditional, like, listing clients, like, I'm not, "Here's a copy for you for so you can see what you're gonna be dealing with at some
Yep.
point, and if we need to, I have a copy for my notes." Also because, like, I like having a written out notes copy, so if anyone says, "That's not what we discussed," I can go, "Here's the notes from our meeting."
Mhm.
I mean, because that's what with the crazy Bible lady, that's what happened, and I was just like, "Right here
That's always
is what we discussed and I took notes
yeah.
on." Because but I won't, like you said, I'm not bringing it to be like, "Okay, you ready to sign? Let's go."
Mhm.
No,
I
that's
mean, I
not.
have a copy of full buyer agency and full seller agency in my car kit, right?
Mhm.
I haven't used a paper copy and I can't even tell you how long.
You probably need to update them because forms have
Well, so
changed.
no, because I do it's part of my beginning of the year. So they're fresh forms, but I haven't
Okay,
used
because South Carolina's forms changed today,
oh, what
so
happened to
because they changed their
July?
forms more than I changed socks.
I noticed that
And I just bought socks for, like, the first time in 10 years, literally, so,
Real Broker
um,
updated their, like, affiliated business
yeah,
disclosure, like,
I have to
last
look
month.
at that. Emily put it in my she's like, "It's in your zip form," so I was like, "Cool, thanks."
Nice.
But we also don't have to use the Real's compensation disclosure anymore either because our state forms cover that.
Correct.
I was duplicating it, and Michelle was like, "You don't need to do that. Just put in not applicable listing agreement lays this out." And I was like, "Oh, awesome. Cool. Thanks."
Excellent, excellent. Um, but yeah, that's basically it. So a few other things, and again, I tried to create a process for you guys because my process is very it I tailor it so much depending on the person that I'm talking to, if that makes sense, right? So a couple of other
I think
things that I offer or work into the conversation different places is a um stalker alert. Don't laugh.
wait,
Don't
excuse me?
laugh. Okay, so
I'm not laughing. I'm just more like, "What are you doing? Calling the
the
FBI? Like,
stalker
how does
alert.
that
Okay,
work?"
so when I'm talking about like how did you get to your pricing, right? It's either A, the Zestimate, B, my neighbor across the street sold for 325 and I have a way better kitchen, so I'm listed at 400,
Yeah.
right?
But your neighbor had 500 more square
Cor
feet,
right,
so
right, right. But this is where I'm like, "Oh, great. I love that you're paying attention to what's happening locally." And this is hard if it's not in a neighborhood, it's a little bit harder, but I'll be like, "How about I send you a neighborhood stalker report?" It'll come I can set it to come every month or every week, right? And you'll be able to see your immediate competition for houses like yours. Okay.
right, and you can see the photos and the square footage and all of the things that make it different.
Mhm. And then it's an MLS search. It's an MLS search. I set it within like, depending again, if it's more rural, it's 2 miles. If not, it's 1 mile, right? Like what's happening immediately in their area. And set it up by bedrooms, by square footage, like that kind of thing. Here's what your competition looks like. And it's an MLS search. So you can set it to send them an email immediately when something hits the market and you just ask them, how would you like to receive this information? Do you want just kind of like a monthly overview of what's going on? Do you want as soon as a new house that might affect your home sale comes on the market, do you want a notification? Set it up. Set it up. And you'd be surprised how many sellers open those emails because they're nosy. They're nosy. That's a great one. And then I put them on my email list. If I get their email address, I put them on my email list.
I'm gonna need you to teach me how to do the stalker report because I think that's applicable to expireds too. Like, "Hey, why don't we stay in touch, and let me show you what's happening." Like, I would love to see how you build that someday.
Oh, 1,000%.
It's probably just a standard report in MLS, but
Yes, it is. It's just like setting up a search for my buyers, right? But when you put in our system,
like the
Canopy, yeah,
subject
the
line,
subject line, I just put super stalker and their home address, right?
love it.
And
That's a great way to reframe
mhm,
the tools that we
yeah,
have.
and I have it set so it CCs me, so then I can see too. So then that's again more talking points. Did you see that your the house around the corner went under contract last week after being on the market for 3 weeks, right? And they see it and they're seeing me because when that email shows up, it's got my face, it's got my information, it's just another repetition for them. And I've had sellers that did end up selling on their own and that they still open the emails. Like I haven't turned them off. It's crazy.
Right. Or like I think that another thing that's possible is they may, like I said earlier, they may sell on their own, but they see how great you
Mhm.
are so that when their friends are like, "Yeah, we really need to sell the house," they say, "You've got to call her." I had that happen this week. When all the shit was going down last year, these clients sold and bought with another agent. But you know who they called to give a referral to yesterday? Not that other agent. They called me because I was like, "I'm not giving up." Like we were friends kind of like acquaintances in car clubs. So, they still got a Christmas card. They still get like I know not that I mean, I guess I'm slightly stalking, but I know their new address. So, I was like, "I'm not giving up." Like, if they call me and say, "Hey, no," or if they did another deal without me, all right, message received.
Mhm.
But they called me. So, yeah, if you keep things like that going or you do a great job at this, it may build business in a way you didn't expect.
Yep. And have the hard conversations while before you get the listing, right? Like talk about how the days on market are up. Talk about how buyers are really, really, really choosy right now and taking their time and making smart decisions for them, right? They're paying for this investment. Like they're not just picking up anything off the streets now. So if you lead with the hard conversations and they're like, well, this agent said that they'll list it for $25,000 more. Okay, great. Like this is why I
Right.
wouldn't,
But
you know?
right. And if they do, then call them in 6 months when it's expired
Well, and
and say, "Hey, wanna try
that's
again?"
the thing. It's one of those situations that you're just trying to, for me, build the relationship. And after that, again, even if I don't get the listing, if it's a for sale by owner on Facebook Marketplace, I'll friend request them, right? Then they're just gonna still see my stuff. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, there's no the secret sauce is doing it. That's 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 it. Because you might do it wildly different. I know people that prospect for sale by owners, and like when I say prospect, like they get a list of phone numbers every morning that they sit down and dial, because that's what they do. And they have a script. Okay, well, why can't I see you at 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock doesn't work. How about tomorrow at 9? All of and they go ready to take that listing. But that's not me. So that's not how I don't like to be bullied. I don't like to be pushed.
No, and I feel
Um,
like that might work in certain
mhm,
markets. Like, I feel like in a bigger city where, yes, people are like, "Go, go, 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 go," things have to be done, or you have people more likely to relocate. Sure, that might be, yeah, we're on a time crunch and we need an aggressive car salesman approach. I'm not gonna say it doesn't work at all.
late
But I think in your market, people would be like, "Who the hell does this girl think she is?" Like, that is not how we roll out here.
correct, correct. So late 2020 through, I mean, oh my God, 22 probably for sell by owners were hard because they didn't need an agent.
No, they could literally stick a sign in the yard and it was
Mhm.
gone 2 days
I was
later.
one of those
But
agents.
that's the same in for regular listings now
Mhm,
too. How many have we seen where the agent actually, I have to call a lady back today. The agent stuck a sign in the yard, did 2 open houses, and can't get the house
mhm.
sold. So they called me. "Hey, we're terminating." "Okay,
I've had
let me call you after."
I've had 5 listings in the last year that were from previous agents.
Mhm.
5. I mean, that's a lot. The
Yep.
system is changing, the work is changing, the process is changing. So if you don't change with it, that's what happens. But I mean, I was one of those agents back in 2020 and 2022 that I sold for sale by owner listings, right? Like it was harder because those people had no idea what they were doing and I had to do the work for essentially both sides, right? But I sold those listings. It didn't matter if it was on the MLS or not. But now, like I said, buyers are being more choosy. It is a little bit harder to move a property, and these crappy cell phone pictures on a Facebook marketplace listing, especially when it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as the price, call me for information. They're not sitting. So those
Mhm.
conversations are starting to be more fruitful, I guess, because I think people are starting to see, okay, all right, they're not
Yeah.
coming to me anymore. So
No. Well, and there I think with all of the stuff in the news, as much as you see, like, the critics in the comments, like the trolls, I do think and I mean, we'd have to check stats, but I feel people are trusting of us more because they're like, "We've heard all these headlines, and we don't know what's actually going
mhm.
on." And so they're like, "Yep, you know what? We've tried this. Let's hire someone because obviously we don't know what we're doing, or we don't know enough to be fruitful in this expedition."
Absolutely. But I think that wraps up our 4 week.
I do too, and I think, like, looking back at what you've discussed and taught us, because I'm gonna say I learned a lot today too, I have 2
Okay,
takeaways.
great.
1, I think if you don't like the expired process I described, you can use this. Just you're hitting a similar potential client, you just need to alter it for an expired versus a FSBO, but this is a great outline. It's a great 6-week, here you go. And my other big takeaway, and I think this is like our closer, is if you treat FSBOs like people instead of prospecting numbers, your pipeline will build itself.
Yep. Yep, it really is.
And I think that's applicable to um, people in general and prospecting in general. Stop looking at them as numbers and transactions. Treat them like people, and your pipeline will build. Even if it's not, again, even if it's not them, they might refer you someone else, or word of mouth was, she was great when she called. And treat people like people, not numbers.
And that's the goal,
And
right?
that
That's the goal, is for
right?
people to share you in rooms that you're not a part of, because that's how your business grows. So, bye guys. We just finished another episode of Contracts and Chaos, but believe me, the chaos does not stop here. So check out the show notes for our email address and where to follow us on socials, and we will see you next week.